Today, I'm going to talk about alignment in pool. I'll explain what it is, why it's important, and how to get great alignment. So let's get right into it. So when I talk to people that I'm coaching about what alignment is, what I'll do is I'll set up a fairly simple shot and I'll take a second cue ball and I'll put it on the contact point of the object ball, contact point of where we need to hit that ball in order to pot it. Now, what I want you to do is imagine there's a straight line coming through the center of that cue ball to the real cue ball and extending all the way back to yourself and down onto the floor. And I'll put a little bit of masking tape on there just so we can visualize it better. Now, what that's called is a shot line. And there's 5 components of your technique that I think should be on the shot line or parallel to it. And if you can get that, and you can do it consistently, then you're going to have a much better chance of becoming a good player. Now, it's important to use that word consistent. Not every time you're going to be perfectly aligned on the shot line, and not every time you're going to go straight through the ball. That's where professionals miss. Professionals know where to aim the ball. What they have difficulty doing is making contact with the point that they're aiming at 100% of the time. And that tends to come down to alignment and your technique on that alignment. So I'll cover off the 5 elements, and hopefully by repeating those 5 elements over and over and over again, you build yourself into this better player. Now, the first and most important thing that you want on that shot line, and almost as perfectly straight as you can possibly get it, is your cue. Unsurprisingly, it's your cue. So what I'll do is I'll place that down on that line. Now it's right over the top of that line. It's aiming to pot that ball, and as you bring it forward and push it through, you want it to remain on that line. It's so important. The cue is the most important thing to be on that line. And just as a demonstration, I'm going to exaggerate this slightly, but I just want to demonstrate how important it is. And this backs up what I say about on other videos. I'll talk about aiming. I'll say, aiming is important, but it's a skill that you learn really quickly in this game. Technique and alignment is something that even professionals, even the best players in the world, will still be coached on today. It is something that you will probably have to work on for the rest of your pool days. So to show you that, I'm going to line up, I'm on the shot line, I'm going to pot that ball, everything's lined up as it should. Now here's the exaggeration. Look at my cue, I've moved it off the shot line. Still aiming to try and pot it, but I'm off the shot line. And if I hit that ball, you can see I've missed. So my aiming was fine, most of my technique was fine, but the cue was off the shot line. And look how much I missed a simple shot by. Now, imagine any other shot on the table, you're going to be faced with more difficult shots. You don't have to exaggerate your cue that much, but even a couple of mils that you cue slightly offline is going to have an impact on whether you can pot the shot, or it might have an impact on your position. So first and most important part of your alignment is getting that cue on the line, back and forward, over it consistently. So the next really important part of alignment is your head position. And I've done a whole video on this, and specifically what I'm talking about is your dominant eye and your center of vision. What you want to do is, you might think that you want the cue right in the middle of your chin. If you're looking along a shot like that, right in the middle of your chin. But it's actually should never be in that position. Every single person will have a dominant eye. And what that means is, as you look at the world, you're fed one image by your brain. But if you think about it, you've got 2 eyes, and they both see things very slightly differently from different angles. They send an image to your brain, they both send an image to your brain, it processes it, and you're churned out one image which you wonder about everyday life, and that's what you see. Now that image will be made up more of one eye than the other, and that eye is your dominant eye. And you can work it out quite simply. You know, if you put your hands together and look at a small object like that ball, shut one eye, and if you can still see the object, it means your open eye is your dominant eye. Now, what you tend to see is, I'm right eye dominant. What you tend to see isn't all of what your right eye is showing you. It's a mixture of both, but it's mainly your right eye. So instead of putting the cue right under your chin or right under your dominant eye, you need to find what's known as your vision center. So what I can do is, on this shot line that I've added, if I put the cue right over the top of it and then line myself up, if I put my chin, the cue on the middle of my chin, I don't look like I'm over that line. If I move it to my right eye, I also don't look like I'm over it. What you want to do, and you can do this with a bit of masking tape, or if you've got a bog line on your table, you can do it with that, or just put a piece of string on your dining room table. You can do this in a number of ways. Put your cue over the top of it and move your head until it looks like the cue is exactly over the line. Now for me, it is there. And if you can see this, it is not under the middle of my chin. It is not under my right eye, but it's somewhere in between us. It's about there. And that is the best position for me to be able to sight a ball correctly. So it's really important that you find that out. So hopefully that covers that one. Let's move on to the next step. This next one is also really, really, really important. I can't stress it enough. And you might find that you do this naturally, or you might have to work at it. And in fact, if you go on a table today and try this, you probably won't know. I only know because I've filmed myself over about 100 videos now, and I've seen what happens. What I'm talking about is your back arm, your elbow, this point up here, from your elbow up to here. You want that on the shot line. So on the shot line and going across, right along that shot line. So if you look at me on this shot, hopefully you can see that back elbow is in a nice straight line with it. Now, if you think about it, you're wanting your cue to go in a straight line backwards and forwards. If this part of your arm is also on that line, it's going to make that a lot easier. Now, there's a video with Steve Davis and Stephen Hendry, and they showed the impact of not having that arm straight. You can either have it out the way like this, and I'm going to exaggerate this, it can go out the way like this, or it can go in the way like that. Now, if you've got it in the way like that, you can't possibly cue, or it will be really hard to push that cue through in a straight line. The natural position of your hand is making your cue want to go that way. And if I put my arm like this, the natural position of my hand is making it want to go that way. Now, the video with Stephen Hendry and Steve Davis, what they did is they put the cue ball right in the middle of the table, got Stephen Hendry to play with his normal elbow straight up and down the table, hit it hard. Could he get the cue ball to hit his tip again? And he did it. And Steve Davis says, try it like that. He did it, and the cue ball swung way to the right. He says, put your elbow like that, and it swung way to the left. Now, that's because your hands are naturally wanting to go a different way rather than straight, forward, and back. Now, you can get away with this to a certain extent. I watched a player last night. I think his name was Billy Thorpe. Apologies, don't get a lot of US pool in the UK, but I think his name was Billy Thorpe, and he really had a bad elbow like that. He made 11 bank shots in a row, which was quite impressive, but his back elbow was like that, and I bet you he will cue across quite a lot of shots that he doesn't mean. And the ever popular Dr. Dave, if you look at him, his back elbow is like that. You see him, he's very square onto the shot, and his elbow is out like this. And I don't think it's a very nice cue action to look at, but it will, not only does it not look great, it will make you have problems. And the reason that Dr. Dave's goes out like that is because of something else that he's doing on his alignment that's naturally pushing that elbow out, and I'm going to cover that now. So the next part about your alignment is your body position, and this is what has an impact on your back elbow. Well, I feel it does anyway. So my body position is that I'm at a bit of an angle. If I play this shot, you can see that my nipples are pointing to about 2 o'clock, possibly. What that does, and I quite like this, it turns your body slightly. So if you imagine that's your shot line, it turns your body slightly. So it kind of makes everything go like that. And I think that keeps things quite tight and compact to the shot line, which is, I mean, it's not going to do you any harm. I think it can be of benefit, but it's obviously not going to do you any harm. So it keeps things compact. I mentioned the back elbow with Dr. Dave. His body position is very straight on. So if you do this, if I go into the shot straight on, it naturally shoves this elbow out the way. So I think going straight on creates a problem. I mean, you can correct this elbow. I can go straight on and I can bring my elbow in like that. But it feels, there's a lot of tension in my body. Maybe it's because I'm just not used to it, but there's kind of tension in here and in here. And you don't want any tension when you're down in a shot. You want to feel as comfortable as possible. So to keep things compact and comfortable, I would suggest you would probably want to be maybe pointing the nipples. So that's what we're going to say from now on. Point the nipples at about 1 or 2 o'clock. If you're straight on, I think it forces that back elbow out, which we said can create some problems. So this is probably the one step that I would say it matters the least. I think it feels comfortable like this, but give it a try yourself and see what you think. And we'll move on to the last step now, which is definitely not a nice to have. This is really important, this last one. So on to the last part about alignment. Again, a really important one. It's your stance. And if you think about it, you're standing on every shot. You want to create something that gives you the best possible chance of pushing that cue through in a straight line. So your stance is vitally important to that. I've extended this, I mentioned it earlier, I've extended the shot line back onto the floor. So it's in line with the shot line that we've got on the table. So we want to extend that out and put a few things on or near this shot line. So first of all, your back foot. I'm right-handed, so my back foot is my right foot. You want this on the shot line. And if you play a shot properly, you also want your back hand, when it's holding the cue, should be above your foot. If you drew a straight line up, it should connect the two. Now this foot, your back foot is straight, the back leg is straight. And I would say mine's points to probably about 1:30. But anywhere between 1 and 2 o'clock on a clock face is where you want that to be. And that is on the shot line. That's important. As I step into the shot, and just a little process for you, if you're stepping into a shot, if you're right-handed, take a small half step with your right foot first. It's straight, then a full step with your left, and your left leg is bent, and that will get you down on a shot. So I'll just do that again. So if I actually put my cue on the shot line, and it's gone right across this, above this one that's on the floor as well, take a little half step with the right foot, full step with the left, and step into the shot. And that's me on it nicely. Now, if you look at this, and I know this is hard to pick up on the camera because I have looked at this before, my left foot is pointed at 12 o'clock. It is not on the shot line, because think about it, if I put it on the shot line, then we'd be playing like this. It'd be strange. It's not on the shot line, but it is completely parallel to it. And this is the little camera trick. I know it looks like, I can't remember which way. I think it looks like I might be pointed in the way. But it's not. It is right along that shot line. So if the shot line is going like that, my foot is pointed like that. So everything is now in a nice straight line. I've got my cue in a straight line, I've got my vision center nice, my back elbow is in a straight line on the shot line. This foot is in a straight line parallel to the shot line. This foot is actually on the shot line, and my nipples are pointed at 1 o'clock. They're the strange exception to this. But that is the 5 key components to getting a great shot line. So work on them, because if you can repeat this consistently, then you're going to become a good player. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, to work out that your center of vision, you'll want to check out this video now. Thanks.